The next topic for our delightful little videos is how to clean data, summarize data, and run a simple regression. I've got our data set from last time, our Ad Health Section 19 data open. If I look at the data, it's clear that not everything is usable data. For example, this variable right here has some values and it has a bunch of skips. That's true of a lot of these variables. How do we clean that up? Well, the first thing we probably want to do is take a look at the code book. The code book is usually available where you downloaded your data. If you created the data yourself in Excel, obviously you don't have a code book, but you should know what everything is. I've downloaded this code book. Let's take a look at what's in section 19 and how these things are coded. So this is the section 19 code book. If we scroll down, we can see how people answered these questions. We can see what the values mean. We can see what the legitimate skip variable name or value meant, and we can understand sort of what to do with the data, how to clean it, how to understand what we're looking at. Okay, so if we go back into our Stata and we pick a specific variable we might want to use, let's say for example the case ID variable there, it's probably already clean, it's all numeric, it's continuous, doesn't require much in the way of cleaning. Second variable, notice how it's red. What that means in that case is it may be numeric, may not be numeric, but it's not currently in a usable state. The way to turn a variable like that into a number, something we can actually use, is something called the dstring command. So we will dstring that variable, AID, click this button, it adds it down here for you. Then we're going to put comma, replace. So what it's going to do is take a string variable and turn it into a numeric variable, something you can actually use. It's done that for us after we hit enter. If we take a look now, see how it's black, that means it's a usable number now. Okay. If we look at another variable that, let's say, has some skips in it, some non-values, like say the year variable here, as you can see, it's got blanks, that's what those dots are, and it's also got values that aren't numeric, that don't know variables. Okay, don't know is coded as 9998, as we could see in the code book we had open a second ago. So how can we clean that up? If we look at our variables, one easy way to notice when there's a problem is if you use what's called the sum command, SUM. It runs summary statistics. Notice I typed SUM and hit enter. It summarizes every variable in the data set. If the variable is nothing numeric, then it won't actually be able to summarize it, but if it has numeric values in it, then it will summarize it, give you mins and maxes. That's a mean, that's a standard deviation, and that's the number of observations for that variable. Okay. One of the variables that we were looking at a second ago is right here. It has some values that are nonsense. It is a year variable, and the mean for the year variable is 6,458. Clearly that is not a reasonable year. 1977 probably is a reasonable year. 9999 is not a reasonable year. So what we would do in a case like that, for example, should not always do this, make sure you know what you're doing before you do it. If you'd like me to help you look at your data, I'd be happy to do so. But in this case, what we do is we say drop that variable, whatever that variable is. We can copy the name over there and paste it here if we'd like. If, sorry, I put that in the wrong order. Drop if that variable is greater than, let's say, 2005. This is older data, so that's a safe date to use. That knocks out observations where there is no value for that variable. If we then summarize again, and we look at the same variable that we were looking at a second ago, what we'll see is that it no longer has ridiculous values. It's 1977 through 2002, and the values make sense. It's also possible to drop any observations that are missing. So we could say drop if that variable we had a second ago is equal to the period value there. That means 0 or not. It doesn't exist is actually what it means. You have to use the equal sign. If you'll note there, we use that. Hit enter, and it will delete any observations that don't have a value. In the case of that variable, they all had a value, so it didn't drop any. But in some cases, they won't. Okay. The next thing I want to show you how to do is to create summary statistics. You'll use this for your data paper. Again, the SUM command, that will spit out summary statistics for you. The summary statistics that we generally care about, we need a variable name, obviously. Then we need a mean and a standard deviation. This entire table can be copied directly into Excel and pasted. It's not going to be very pretty, but you can format it and make it look a little neater, make it look like it needs to look to be useful, and then simply attach that to the document you send me when you send me your data paper. Okay. I can also show you how to run a simple regression. The command to run a regression is reg, that's regress, that's what that stands for. And the way you design a regression is the first variable you list is your dependent variable. So just as a silly example, this is obviously not something you would do for a paper. We can make the case ID number is our dependent variable, which is obviously gibberish. And then the variables you list after that are your independent variables. So we'll put a couple of these other variables in as independent variables. So now what we're going to get is a regression where the Y variable, the dependent variable, is case ID, and the independent variables are these 4 variables. To run the regression, we just hit enter, and we get our regression results. We know how to interpret these things. We've seen them. You're familiar with them now. That table can also simply be copied and pasted into Excel, where you can make it less ugly for when you turn it into mean. So now you've seen how to open data, how to sort of look at data, how to clean data a little bit, how to run a regression, how to provide summary statistics. One other note, when you save your data, I strongly suggest that when you save it as a different name, something other than whatever it's named when you download it, so that you don't inadvertently save over the original data. So name it something other than what it was originally when you make edits. There you go.